Hello and welcome to Pop Culture Shark. Forgot what show I was on. It happens. We do multiple shows. I'm Final Monkey.
And I'm Caleb.
And today we are discussing a run of the X-Men that most people don't ever talk about or even notice. Wolverine the X-Men by Jason Aaron. We'll also be talking about X-Men Schism, which is the lead up to it. But first, how are you doing today, Caleb?
I'm good. It's been quite an interesting weekend. So me and my friend Willis, we have this thing now because he went through all the phase 1, 2, 3 of the MCU, and he's like, I have no interest in and he's not like a Marvel guy. He was just like making a deal with one of his bandmates. And he's like, I have no interest. And then I said, well, you have to watch Eternals. It's that bad. And then I showed him Josie and the Pussycats, which is a movie that I love. So we have this new thing where I show him a bad Marvel movie followed by a good movie. So yesterday we showed him Quantum Mania, followed by Bullet Train.
Nice.
And I love Bullet Train, and man, Quantum Mania, that was there's like this trifecta of Marvel movies that I hate, and I don't know which one I hate more. Is it Ragnarok? Is it Quantum Mania? Or is it Eternals? I don't know which one I hate more.
I still have not seen Quantum Mania, so I will keep it that way.
He made me do it. I will do it. I will make you watch it.
Oh,
I mean, like, here's the thing. I'm never gonna make anyone watch Black Widow. Okay, Black Widow is not like boring bad. It's not fun bad. It's not. I mean, like, it's not funny bad. I mean, it is just. It makes me feel nothing. So I won't ever make anyone watch. So, but yeah, that was kind of my weekend, at least. Just kind of been going through X-Men, playing Pokemon, playing Destiny. I did start watch. I got a Crunchyroll subscription. Started watching the original Gundam.
Okay.
I don't like it, but I'm going to keep watching it because apparently it gets good.
Awesome.
Yeah, I grew up on Wing, by the way. I'm one of those people, so I will compare every Gundam to Wing, and that will be its downfall. But yeah, other than that, what about yourself? Tell us. I'm sure you've been reading more than just X-Men, as you always do.
Actually, last week I just read X-Men.
Oh, okay.
I mean, let's count One Piece today, which was awesome as usual. Speaking of One Piece, the live action One Piece is out. I have not watched it yet, but my brother, who knows nothing about One Piece, has been watching it. He's been really enjoying it. So I'm hearing lots of good things about it. So I'm eager to watch it.
I'm definitely curious. It got the coveted IGN 7 out of 10, which tells you nothing.
Yeah, I saw I think they gave it a 6 or something. I can't believe I'm hearing thunder outside right now. We've been in a drought for 6 weeks, so I'm like, is it about to storm? What is happening?
I honestly, I actually hear it on my end too. That's insane.
Yeah.
Hopefully you guys get some rain.
Yeah, it'd be really nice.
This is the most interesting podcast. We talk about the weather.
Yeah. Well, when it hasn't rained for 6 weeks, you talk about it. So yeah, been playing a lot of Vampire Survivors. That game is so addicting. I'm getting close to where I was at when I stopped playing on the phone. I hit a level when I was playing on my phone that my phone kept crashing. It couldn't handle it.
That's fun. That's awesome.
Yeah. It was like a Sonic the Hedgehog type level, and my phone was just like, nope. Anyhow. What else? Other than that, I took off Friday, so I'm in the middle of a 4-day weekend, which is nice.
Awesome.
So yeah, let's hop into the news.
Yeah,
and then we'll
definitely.
talk about one of my favorite runs of X-Men. Let's go.
So as far as news goes, we have a very exciting thing that was. I didn't actually see any announcements. You just sent it to me. So this was like officially put out that Alien Hominid is not only getting its sequel that we know about, but we're also getting a re-release on Switch and other modern consoles, which is very exciting. I love this game so much, and I believe we've talked about this plenty of times. I think this is like the perfect game for kids too, if I can go ahead and say, just because like you can introduce kids to gore with flowers and it's really funny.
It's a, if I recall, it's a difficult game.
It was easier when I was a kid. Do you deal with that at all? Where like games were actually easier when you were a kid, then you go back and you're like, wow, this is more difficult than I remember.
Yeah, I think like the original Legend of Zelda, stuff like that. Yeah,
Because I mean, like Cameron and I, we used to go through Alien Hominid like once a week when we were kids, and now it's just like, man, this game's like really hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a lot of fun.
Speaking of games that have a mode for kids,
yes, we have Super Mario Wonder. The fan art has happened. I came in with my "The End Is Nigh" sign like Rorschach a couple months ago. I said the end is nigh. Daisy fan art is coming, and it is here. So there's that. Now I do have one complaint. I don't like the fact that like the easy mode is locked behind a particular character.
Yeah, I was hearing a lot of people say that they really wanted to play as Yoshi, and they're like, he's the easy mode.
Right. That's my feeling as well. I honestly, I also don't like the fact that they've made everyone the same. Luigi's not going to be jumping higher. Peach doesn't float. Toad isn't going to be really fast. It's a little unfortunate, but
yeah, I mean, but at least they gave you the badges where you can customize them. Everybody can have their own abilities and stuff. So
yeah, that's definitely cool. This is definitely a game that is one to be on the lookout for. This is going to be a lot of fun.
The multiplayer online seems a little janky, but also it's kind of like, well, y'all couldn't really get Mario Maker online to work. Yeah. So maybe this is their compromise.
I don't think anyone's really concerned about online multiplayer for this game anyway.
You'd be surprised. A lot of the Twitch streamers that I watch that are, sure to the Mario Maker community are probably keeping their eye on this game. So
sure.
I enjoyed the presentation last week, but nothing really blew me away. That I think the first one kind of did that, and then I'm kind of like, okay.
I'll be honest. I don't know why they did this presentation.
It's just because the game comes out next month.
I know, but like, so here's the thing. I actually didn't watch the presentation because I'm like, the game comes out next month.
Yeah,
like I'll find out about it when the game comes out. I don't need to be sold on this game.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I'd be more interested in like I think we're at the time where we need to have like a direct about what to expect for next year, because we honestly know nothing about next year.
And they usually do one in, I think, December. We've got there's a couple more directs coming up.
Yeah.
Right now they're just kind of focused on the Christmas season.
Sure.
All right.
Well, as far as other games, we got this G.I. Joe Wrath of Cobra. I feel like are you a G.I. Joe guy? I feel like
oh yeah, definitely a G.I. Joe guy. I feel like there hasn't been a quality G.I. Joe product in some time. I think Renegades was okay. The cartoon.
I did like Renegades.
The Adult Swim was at Resolute. Resolute was awesome.
I love Resolute. I think that's my favorite of all of them.
But that's since then, other than some of the comic book runs, there hasn't really been anything great G.I. Joe wise.
Hot take: the movies are good.
Oh
no! Hold on. The movies are the best toy-based movies that have come out, except for the Lego Movie. Lego Movie is of course better.
Now, to be honest, I've only seen the first one of the G.I. Joe movies, and I had a free ticket to the movie theater, and I wanted my money back when it was over.
What, you don't like the fact that Cobra Commander is played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt?
I don't mind that he played him, but it just that movie and the running suits and the
No, I liked it. So if I could, I'm gonna go ahead and complain about this game because I am actually not at all excited for this game. I'm done with beat 'em ups and Streets of Rage and all that. With G.I. Joe, you could have done something better. Like this, I feel like they should have gone the Contra route with this, like 2-player side-scrolling shooter.
This trailer, it looked a little janky. Everything looked janky about this trailer. I think it's early. It just said 2024. I think this trailer's they showed it a little bit too early.
Well, yeah. I mean, honestly, even if this game looks good, I'm still going to complain about it because, everyone's doing beat 'em ups now, and it's almost like that's the lazy thing to do.
There's some beat 'em ups. There's a way to do it. There's some unique ways that I still haven't seen done that I think you could do it. If I was going to do a G.I. Joe game, it would be an Advanced Wars game.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, where you could pick different generals that were the main characters, and you'd have the infantrymen to control and stuff, and you'd have so many. You'd have like 3 main characters, and the rest were all troops, and then your main characters would have special abilities and stuff, and yeah, you could do some fun stuff with G.I. Joe.
Yeah, I feel like beat 'em up is like, well, we don't know what kind of game we want to make for G.I. Joe. Let's just put them in a beat 'em up. Like I feel like beat 'em up has become the default, and I kind of hate that.
At least they're doing something with the license. I get so annoyed with. I think they're afraid of the G.I. Joe license
because it's America.
Because it's America, and they're fighting terrorism, and you can't just advertise toys and put the word terrorism on there. Yeah, the 80s were a different time, and I love the characters. But you could take a handful of the G.I. Joes. They look like they're members of the YMCA, and that's a little problematic. Or the Village People, I'm sorry, but you got the joke. I mean, for me, if you're gonna do G.I. Joe, it has to be set in the 80s. If you set in the modern time, it does not look right.
Do you know what I think is the best G.I. Joe thing to come out in the past 10 years?
What is that?
G.I. Jeff, the Community episode.
I like that episode. I always see things like that, like when Futurama did G.I. Joe. I thought it could have been better, But yeah, the G.I. Jeff episode was fun.
Oh, come on! Like me and my friends, whenever we play like shooters and stuff, we still say, "Give me some suppressive fire," or like the fact that they keep doing the rock thing. Oh man, I love it. Or Zim Zam Mix Max, that they make fun of that. Like, how is that threatening? Like, when I get hurt, so does my twin brother. That doesn't help you at all.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so honestly, I wanted to talk about this more so for the fact that I wanted to talk about the state of beat 'em ups and how we need to be more creative with our licensed games instead of just like Shredder's Revenge. That makes sense. The greatest, most popular thing to come out of Turtles is those arcade games. I understand that.
But I think you could do something cool with beat 'em ups. Take the Ninja Turtles license.
Okay.
have different paths on every level, and certain paths you cannot take unless you've unlocked certain characters.
I think that's insane that they haven't done that yet. Like, I've thought about that myself.
Like, okay, take this G.I. Joe one. What if there are Cobra doors only that you cannot get in if you're a Joe? Or maybe some characters have climbing abilities like Alpine or ninjas like Snake Eyes or whatever. So there's areas of the map that you cannot get into.
Do you know what you're pitching right now?
What am I pitching?
You're pitching ye old Lego Star Wars games.
Sure.
Yeah, that's really what it reminds me of. Is like, oh man, R2D2 is not in this level, but I need to come back with free play. No, that's great. I can't believe that no one's thought of that.
And if you watch a lot of the old 5-part episodes of G.I. Joe, they would have like, Cobra needs these 3 different components. There's 3 different areas, so you would pick. On your level map, you would pick which area you want to go, and then you pick which strike force you want. So you pick which Joes are going to which area, and you can't use the same Joes on this. You have to split them up. This 5's going here, this 5's going here, this 5, or something like that.
And at this point, at that point, what you are saying, it becomes less of a beat 'em up and more of a fully fleshed out game.
And there's strategy involved. If each Joe has different abilities, and say that each area has 5 levels, but you're only allowed to use a Joe per level, so then it's like, okay, which Joe do I need here? Which, and if it's 2-player, like if you're playing as Doc, he has healing powers. You're playing with Roadblock, he has bigger guns and this and that and whatever, Yeah, you could make a really good G.I. Joe game. And then you flip, there's a Cobra mode where you're stealing those components or taking up, blowing up landmarks or doing this or that or whatever. Yeah.
And imagine that with with Zartan, you could get past both. Like Zartan's the easy mode because he has access to Cobra and Joe.
Well, sure. Well, there's always, there's always a moment where the Cobra's wearing the costume, the mask, like Baroness is in disguise. She's always in disguise as somebody, and
you thought it was your fiance, but it was really me, Baroness.
Yeah.
I also love Channing Tatum. That's another thing. I don't care.
I saw a description for the new Lady J action figure, and it said she was something like she was a master of disguise, able to, take on the appearance of it. I'm like, what are you talking about? I've read almost every G.I. Joe comic cartoon. This has never been Lady J's description.
Yeah, Lady J is Adrian Palicki.
Yeah, I was just all right. Let's move on.
So this one, we're gonna talk about X-Men 97 real quick, and then move straight into Schism. So there's something that I've heard, and always take things with a grain of salt, right?
Right.
I have heard that the way the animation is going to go is that it will somewhat look like the 90s cartoon, but it's going to be computer generated.
Possibly. I mean, the pictures we've seen looks like the old cartoon, but I could also see them, to keep costs down, doing some CGI.
Yeah. In fact, whenever I heard about that, I went back and I looked at those stills, and I'm like, this looks really good, like in a still, but I could see how they start moving, and I'm like, oh, this is computer generated animation.
So I'm of a couple minds about X-Men 97. It has been delayed again. A lot of the Marvel shows have been delayed again, just due to the writer strike. I definitely want more episodes of X-Men, but I don't know if Disney is capable of giving me what I want, given their recent output. So we'll see what this is like when and if it ever comes out. I'm sure it's coming out because they've put a lot of work into it. It's just
have they?
Well, animation takes forever. So
Sure.
I mean, if it was supposed to come out this year, they've got to be pretty close to it coming out, unless they made last minute changes to scripts or whatever. But which is entirely possible.
But yeah, I wanted your opinion on that, because whenever I heard about that, I'm like, oh no.
Well, I mean, there have been cartoons that use CGI fairly well, and there's times where it has not looked good, like the Spider-Man 90s cartoon that we've discussed in the past. It just depends. I know like DC loves making all their vehicles CGI. So it would just depend.
Yeah, I'm scared that we are gonna get that first trailer and the whole show is computer generated.
I just can't see them. It just depends on how they use it. I'm sure there will be some CGI involved somewhere, but it just depends. So X-Men 97, that's an interesting era of X-Men. It's kind of like Chris Claremont set everything up and he left, and then this was the X-Men. And it was finally remembered by everybody as, when you think of X-Men, this is like your ideal X-Men. And since then, we've seen a lot of different versions of X-Men since then, and sometimes they're great and sometimes they're not. And so let's talk about Wolverine and the X-Men. This was a run by Jason Aaron and Chris Bocciolo or Boccello, however you want to say it.
Mm-hmm.
And who was the other guy? Bradshaw, I think was his name.
Yes.
Nick Bradshaw was the other artist. This spun out of X-Men Schism. X-Men Schism, which we'll talk about here in a minute, was a falling out between Wolverine and Cyclops. And at the end of that, Wolverine decides to leave and reform the school to train these students. So let's talk about X-Men Schism before we get into Wolverine and X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
go ahead.
The first 8 issues.
Okay, hold on a second. You cut out. I didn't hear what you said.
Oh, sorry. I might actually have more to say on Schism than the 8 issues of Wolverine and the X-Men, actually.
Okay.
Because I mean they kind of run together, but really so.
Well, let's before we get X-Men Schism. Do you feel like this is the sister book to Uncanny X-Force when you started reading it? Like X-Force is telling this one story, then here's this companion story. Now you're getting the other part of Angel and Evan and Wolverine.
Kind of. I don't see this as the sister. Now that I'm reading this feels like the main story.
Okay.
And Uncanny X-Force was kind of the side story.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But they go together. I guess is what I'm saying.
No, yes, absolutely. I do like the fact that we read all of Uncanny X-Force prior, because I do think that Uncanny X-Force still works without knowing that Schism has happened.
Sure, yeah.
So like in theory, you could say, Uncanny X-Force takes place before Schism in your reading order, and it works out.
Yeah, you don't have to read Schism to enjoy Uncanny X-Force at all.
I do think you need to read Schism to enjoy Wolverine and the X-Men, though.
Yeah, it is. It is definitely part of the story, especially of Heidi, and what she's going through.
I didn't know how you were going to pronounce it. I didn't. I was going between Edie and Heidi.
I have no idea. I've always called her Heidi. I could be completely wrong. So, and her codename's what, Oya or something?
Oh yeah, something like that. And her power makes somewhat sense. But then again, she is one of the 5 lights. So, I'll be honest. This now that we're the nice thing about Uncanny X-Force is like you can just read it and like not have to set anything up or talk about anything else. I mean, like there's just so much that happens before Schism that leads up to Schism that leads up to Wolverine and the X-Men that leads up to Uncanny X-Men with Scott and Utopia. There's just so much, like, because it all comes down to Hope. And Hope's storyline is like 10 years long, like 10 years before this.
Yeah, and here's my frustration with a lot of this era. I feel like there's some good stories here, but there's no payoff because Bendis comes in. I feel like they set up Hope, all this stuff, and then her story kind of doesn't go anywhere. And I feel like Wolverine the X-Men, we'll get there, does have kind of an ending, but it's kind of a look to the future type ending. And I feel like they didn't really, like, I feel like Jason Aaron maybe had more stories to tell.
Oh, he definitely did.
Because if you read his, which I have not, but if you read his current Avengers run or recent Avengers run, Brew pops up in that book a lot. So he still had more to say about these characters, but editorial, sales go down, they start changing everything.
Bendis gets whatever he wants.
They killed off Wolverine, then they killed off Cyclops in the Death of the Inhumans or X-Men versus Inhumans or whatever that story was called. There's a weird X-Men era where Xavier, Wolverine, Cyclops, and Jean are all dead like at the same time. It's like, what are you doing? It'd be like telling Fantastic Four stories with all the Fantastic Four dead.
Now, I do think that after Johnny Storm's death comes one of the best eras of Fantastic Four.
Oh, but that's one of the 4. It'd be like killing off all the Fantastic Four, and now it's like, oh, and Alicia Masters is now your main character with the postal guy, and it's it's She-Hulk and
no,
the robot.
I got a pitch. Okay, how about this? You kill off all 4.
Yeah.
And then Franklin Richards is your main character. That's it. Fantastic Four, Franklin Richards. Everyone is dead except him.
But we had that era.
I know.
Heroes Reborn. That was the Heroes Reborn era where he was hanging out with Generation X. So, anyhow, X-Men Schism. Cyclops and the X-Men are living on Utopia. They are trying to make a go of it of peace with humans. There's going to be a big it wasn't the UN, was it? It was a worldwide conference, and Cyclops was going to speak at it. And are you still there, Caleb?
Yeah. Like I said this before it started that I've been having issues with my internet today, so we're seeing how this goes.
All right,
give me a second. Go ahead and give us the rundown of Schism. I'm gonna leave and come back.
Okay, so Cyclops is going to go speak before all these world leaders about the threat of Sentinels, about mutant relations, and he's brought Wolverine with him. And so you have all these rival countries there, and they're like, you're lying. There is no mutant there. We don't have Sentinels. What are you talking about? And Cyclops, he ain't having it. He's just saying, hey, I've seen so many mutants die. Sentinels are a real thing. This is a real bad problem. So things are heating up. And then we have Quentin Quire show up. Now, Quentin Quire, he was a student of the X-Men during the Grant Morrison era. And Quentin Quire was a character who led a riot at the school. He was a big troublemaker. And he got put into, I'm trying to remember the history. Something happened to him. He got put into stasis, and then he came back when one of the Cuckoos got the Phoenix powers. And then since then, he's been locked up. So somehow he has escaped, and now he is at this UN type conference, and he causes all kinds of heck to break loose at this conference.
The most important thing being he gets all of the world leaders to confess to their war crimes.
Yeah, they all start confessing their sins, and
my favorite thing, Quentin looks at the camera, says, "Now watch them come up with lies."
Yeah. So everybody's pissed at the mutants at this point. They're like, look what they've done. All these world leaders are like, how dare you humiliate us?
But it's not just that, because the world leaders at this peace conference were prepared for this, and Sentinels show up.
They just said we don't have Sentinels, and then they activate their Sentinels. It's if that doesn't tell you all you know about politicians and the way governments work, So
do you want to know something? I'll go ahead and spoil this real quick. I now that I've reread Schism, I remember why I've never read Wolverine and the X-Men.
Because you were Team Cyclops.
Because I was Team Cyclops. I'm like, Cyclops is right, and so I am more familiar with the Utopia stuff on Uncanny X-Men.
Well, I see Wolverine's point also, that I wouldn't want a bunch of 8-year-olds going to go fight Sentinels if they're not ready, they're not prepared, or whatever.
Sure.
We start seeing Sentinels pop up all the world, and we see what is his name? Is it Kilgore or Kildare?
Kilgore.
Kilgore.
Cade Kilgore.
Cade Kilgore. That's it. This little kid has taken over the Hellfire Club, him and 3 of his cronies or buddies or what you want to call them. And so they are profiting off of the mutant hatred with the Sentinels, which is what Sebastian Shaw used to do back when he got started. He was a mutant, but he was also profiting off the sales of Sentinels.
I think what the best representation of the Hellfire Club, by the way, because we always talk about, like, you watch the X-Men, you watch the X-Men, 90s show, you've got everything you need to know about X-Men. I think as far as Sebastian Shaw, I think Kevin Bacon kind of nailed it in First Class.
Yeah, I mean, I've only seen First Class like one time, and it's been years. So it's,
really? You gotta watch that again. That it might be the best X-Men movie. Might be.
Well, it's not difficult to be the best X-Men movie.
I mean, there's at least some competition. You got at least 3 others that are contenders.
Well, X-Men 2, everybody loves.
Yeah.
Days of Future Past.
Yeah.
Are we counting Deadpool as an X-Men movie?
You know what? We do have to count that, because I was going to count Logan. But if we're counting Logan, then I guess we kind of have to count Deadpool then.
So I haven't seen Logan. That's why.
Okay.
I know everybody tells me I have to watch Logan. I know. Eventually.
But yes.
Okay, so I got the page open here. It's Cade Kilgore, Manuel.
It's a bunch of kids, right?
Yeah, it's a bunch of kids. Manuel and Duque, he's like a slave trader kid. You have Baron Maximilian von Katzenelbogen, or he's a Frankenstein descendant. And then we had Wilhelmina, which is this little girl that is obsessed with animals, but she's also a psychopath that tortures animals.
Of course.
And what's weird is, as we'll see in Wolverine X-Men, Wolverine has no clue how to handle this because he can't punch them. it's these little kids. He's like, what do I do?
Dude. I mean, here's the thing. Phantom X would know what to do.
Well, yeah, Phantom X, as we just saw, okay, X-Force, he would know what to do. A lot of people do not like these kids. I don't mind them. I think, and a lot of people call them the Hellfire Brats.
I think that's here's the thing. I think that is actually an apt name for them, but like I don't mean that as as strictly an insult. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it's an apt description of who they are and what they're doing. But I think they're kind of fun villains. You're dealing with a younger cast of X-Men anyways. So I think it's fun to set up. You gotta have something that's a threat to the school, and I think this is a fun threat that keeps popping up over and over.
Yeah, honestly, so you know how like Teen Titans and X-Men have always kind of like had parallels.
Yes, at least especially during the 80s when they were both huge.
These Hellfire Brats, it really reminds me of the Hive Five.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just pointing that out. I love the Hive Five.
Yeah. So back to Schism. So Sentinels are popping up everywhere. So the X-Men are stretched thin, dealing with them. And then meanwhile, in San Francisco, they're going to have a presentation. I believe it's at a mutant museum. And so Cyclops is like, we have to be there. We have to make an appearance. We're not going to put our heads in the sand at this moment. So he sends in like the strongest X-Men, and they get taken out pretty quickly by the Hellfire Brats.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like Emma Frost, Namor. Was Dr. Nemesis with them? I can't remember. Colossus, and I'm forgetting somebody. I could look in the book. It's right next to me. Give me one moment. I will tell you exactly who's in the book. Oh, Iceman and Magneto. That's the two I'm forgetting. Yeah, Dr. Nemesis is not there. But they take them all out. They have like these little face hugger aliens that they attach to them. And they take everybody in the building hostage. And then there's a bomb that's going to go off. So along with the main team of X-Men, I think the Five Lights are there also.
Yes, yes, they are.
Yeah.
Oya is.
Yeah, Oya's definitely there. Yeah. And she's like the only one who doesn't get knocked out. She's hiding. And Wolverine's on his way to the museum. And he's like, hey, ID, Cyclops like, ID, you got to take him out. You have to kill. And she's like, you can be kill them. He's like, whatever you got to do. And Wolverine's like, no, stop. I'll be there. You do not want to make this little kid a killer. So ID kills everybody. She kills all the Hellfire guards that are there.
And what is her? I kind of got the sense that she, because it's been a while since I've gone through like the Five Light storyline.
I think it's fire and ice as her powers.
For some reason, I got the sense that she was like a human microwave or something.
Let's see. Pronounced Ide. So we were close. Ide. Her powers, physical characteristics. Let's see. No, that's not what I wanted. Give me 1 second.
I bet you it's temperature manipulation.
Thermokinesis.
Okay, gotcha.
So you can do pyrokinesis and chirokinesis.
So she is Shoto Todoroki for all my hero fans out there.
She is Iceman and Firestar mixed together. So yeah, ID kills all these guards. They rescue everybody, and then I believe the debris starts forming a sentinel that starts walking towards Utopia. So we see Wolverine is fighting this, and then he wants Cyclops to evacuate the island. And Cyclops, this is where I'm kind of annoyed with Cyclops. Cyclops is like, no, we make our stand here. And I'm kind of like Wolverine. I'm like, no, we get everybody out of here, and then we fight. We live to fight another day. What's interesting is Heidi is very confused by everything that's going on. She thinks, oh, we're just killers. This is what we're supposed to do. She sees herself as a monster now, and she's just very much psychologically messed up from all this.
So this is very much X-Men's version of Civil War.
I was just thinking that, and I think this is a better argument than the one in Civil War.
So it is, but Ide and Spider-Man kind of represent like the middle of like the two ideals are fighting over the youth, you know?
Right.
And yes, this is better than Civil War. That's because Civil War is not good, and this is.
There are good ideas that come out of Civil War, the aftermath, but the actual comic itself is it's
the good idea is the fact that Thor comes back after Ragnarok and he's like, hey, everyone's dead, what happened? And then Tony's like, yeah, we got in an argument and broke up the team, and then Thor just punches him because like, you're so dumb.
Well, I mean, I like the 50 State Initiative, and I like the prison in the negative zone. There's stuff I like that they did, but
this is just better overall because I here's the thing. I see both sides. I definitely am more Cyclops, Team Cyclops, and even after reading this again, going the other way, I'm still Team Cyclops. But I acknowledge that Wolverine's being the more responsible one.
It's interesting because Wolverine and Cyclops they've been teammates for so long that they are friends. But as the book goes on, those old rivalries start popping up. The things that they would fight over all of a sudden come back to the surface. And
it's the best conversation in this whole book is Jean never loved you. She was she was terrified of you. And then Wolverine says, and if she was here today, who would she be terrified of now?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. I think my favorite thing about this, though, is the fact that the roles are reversed, because I think that we can all agree that Cyclops was Xavier's best student. Yeah. And Wolverine was his worst student.
Right. And if you look at even stuff like Earth X, where it was a possible Marvel future, who's leading the school in that book? Oh, it's Cyclops. He teaches he's the obvious choice to be the next person running the Xavier Mansion, running a school. It's not Wolverine. It's a crazy idea. But I think Wolverine sees Heidi becoming like him, and it scares him. And he's like, I don't want to turn this handful of mutant children into a bunch of mini Wolverines running around killing everybody.
And I think that's the best thing about Wolverine is I think that Wolverine is just better with kids than Cyclops is.
Oh, I mean, historically, Kitty Pryde, Jubilee, I mean, we've seen that time and time again.
Which is why you need to watch Logan, because that's what it's about.
Yeah, it is on my list. It is definitely on my list. But so we have Wolverine wants to blow up the island to force Cyclops to evacuate it, and then the Sentinel gets there, and so they both. I'm trying to remember. I'm drawing a blank on how they defeat the Sentinel. I think they just finally. The kids come out and help them. That's right. The kids come out and help. And
and like, there's actually a physical altercation between Cyclops and.
Oh yeah, it is brutal.
And there's a point where they're like, wait, we need to be helping the kids.
Yeah. They kind of realize, they're in the middle of a fight, then all of a sudden they see the kids are fighting the Sentinel. They're like, oh, darn it. And Wolverine crushes the detonator and he joins in the fight, and they just they destroy the Sentinel. And this was kind of Kilgore's plan. He wanted the X-Men to split up,
which is funny because that's not a thing in Civil War, but it's a thing in the Civil War movie.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. I doubt whenever they were making the Civil War movie that they were even looking at Schism. I doubt that completely. Just because of how horrible that the company itself has treated the X-Men.
Oh, definitely.
But I do think that it's interesting that an overlooked storyline like this there's so many parallels to what is possibly the best of the MCU movies.
So Wolverine is like, I'm out of here and I'm taking the kids with me. This is no place for kids. They almost got killed by Sentinel. I'm going to make a place for kids. I'm going to rebuild. Well, I guess this is the Jean Grey School for Higher Learning. But we're gonna make Xavier's dream happen. He wanted a school where mutants could learn to use their power safely, and also how to function in society. And it's interesting that that's what X-Men started out in the 60s as, but by the time all new, all different X-Men rolls around, that kind of goes away. I mean, they did have Danger Room sessions, but that's about as far as schooling goes. And then they brought in New Mutants, but New Mutants was never. I mean, they would go to classes, but it was never anything like what this book is. Wolverine the X-Men, and I think it's. I just think the classes they have are fun once we get to the Jean Grey School. Just the idea of them having a Days of Future Past class that you have to go to learn about possible futures and stuff and how to fight Sentinels and stuff, I think is hilarious.
Today we're going to be talking about possible futures and time travel. We are also going to have a religious studies about our Messiah, Hope Summers.
Yeah, and today we're going to learn about Xavier trying to kill his twin in the womb. And all this. It's a weird thing that they're teaching them about the history of the school. And the school itself is crazy. Beast has built this insane place.
So I never got because I know that Utopia is off the coast of San Francisco. I never really got a sense of where the Jean Grey School is.
Let's see. Location. It seems to be the same place the X Mansion was.
So North New York. New York. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
One of the crazy things that Beast has put into the school is that any room can be a danger room at any second.
Yeah.
Particularly the bathrooms.
Well, because you never know. You could be on the pot, and Sentinels just lift up the roof, and you gotta learn how to wipe efficiently so you can get into battle.
Yeah, get that spandex back on. Finish what you're doing. Get the spandex on, and be fighting the Sentinel all at the same time.
If you're still in the middle of it, you got to pinch that and get going.
Yeah. I think that scene in Guardians 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, the school's insane. But Wolverine's not alone in this. He's brought some of the senior X-Men with him. Iceman's their accountant. Kitty is basically she's the headmistress, because I think Wolverine's the principal.
Yes.
and then Beast is in charge of facilities. Toad is their janitor,
which I think is great.
Yeah.
I know as far as senior members, Rogue and Gambit are also on his side. I actually went ahead and looked at the division, and there are some who joined Wolverines that I'm surprised about. There are some that joined Cyclops that I'm surprised by.
Did you read that Regenesis one shot or no?
I did.
Yeah, it's not my favorite story. It's weird. It's like they're all cavemen picking sides. It's
yeah.
So but I have like, yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, do you have the list in front of you as well?
I do have the chart of the Fairbuy.
Storm is the one that surprises me the most.
I don't want to spoil things, but I'll go ahead and spoil things. She does show up later on in the book.
Okay.
I think when Bendis shakes up the cast, because he takes Kitty, I think they bring Storm in to replace Kitty.
Well, of course he takes Kitty.
Yeah. I don't know if you noticed, but Bendis was writing a Kitty Pryde movie that they were going to put in production, and then Marvel bought Fox and kind of killed that. So we almost had a Shadowcat movie. Yeah.
Was Brian Michael Bendis also going to be a character and be the love interest for Kitty Pryde as well?
Yeah, there was a Jewish godfather in the film. All right, here's the faculty. We got Wolverine, the headmaster, Kitty Pryde, the headmistress, Beast is the vice principal, Gambit, senior staff member, and Rogue is a senior staff member, which is weird because Gambit and Rogue are hardly in this book. They will pop up from time to time, but they are barely in this.
Rogue and Gambit are, you know what they are? They are the... I saw this meme, and so I'm going to paraphrase it to fit with Rogue and Gambit, but they're like the English teacher and the history teacher that everyone knows are hooking up, and they never come to school functions.
Rachel Gray is a senior staff member. She's in the book quite a bit, actually.
I completely forgot about her too.
Iceman is in the book quite a bit, senior staff member. Then we have the junior staff. Cannonball, I'm trying to remember if he ever does anything significant in this book. I don't think he does. Or Chamber, he doesn't do much. I know there's a Husk storyline coming up soon. Husk is Cannonball's sister. Her power
is dope.
Her power is to pull off her skin and reveal new skin underneath. Which at first you're like, what? That seems dumb. But imagine you had a sunburn and you just pull off your skin. Now your skin's fine. Or, I'm being attacked. You pull off your skin. Now you have adamantium skin, or skin made of lava, or this or that, or whatever. She could do all kinds of cool stuff. Karma, she's another junior staff member. I'm trying to remember. She might show up later on. Then Frenzy, again, she's just kind of in the background. Dupe, he pops up quite a bit in this book, as we'll see. And then Toad is the janitor.
I love Dupe.
So there's a lot of students that are just in the background in this book. Armor, Anoli, Blindfold, Bling, Cypher, Ernst, Gentle, Glob Herman. Glob Herman does show up quite a bit, actually. Gray Malkin, Hellion, Indra, Match, Mercury, Rockslide, and Trance. And then I left out the main characters because I figured we could talk about them separately.
Yeah.
I think the two main characters are Kid Omega and Idy. As we go forward, you'll kind of notice that.
And honestly, those are the ones that prove that Wolverine is better with kids than Cyclops is. Because I know he says the kids are coming with me, but I mean, like, they're mutants. They don't have to go with him.
Right. I think that I think the main hold on, my phone is going crazy.
Is that what that is?
that buzzing sound.
Yeah.
Hold on a second.
He's so popular.
Yeah. Okay. Anyhow, I forgot how I was going to word this, but Wolverine and Kid Omega, their conflict is kind of the main gist of the book. Kid Omega does not want to be a team player, and Wolverine is trying to prove to him that he's more than just some punk kid. He has potential to be an X-Man one day. And you're still seeing that on the modern books. I think Kid Omega's on the team with Wolverine on their X-Force book. And I feel like this book, we haven't got to it yet, but this book is you'll see some growth in Kid Omega as the book goes on. But I feel like sometimes newer writers kind of reset it, like, oh, we want Kid Omega back this way, and they'll kind of reset the character growth. Which
I mean, that's how it is with Catwoman. Like, no one wants Catwoman to just be the hero that she is. You know, we have to make her kleptomaniac still.
It's the Ash Ketchum syndrome. We got to reset it back to an idiot. So, so at the beginning of this book, Wolverine brings Kid Omega to the school. That we see through flashbacks that Captain America wanted to take him into custody, and Wolverine's like, no, I'm gonna take him in and I'm gonna train him. But second he steps out of line, we're gonna hand him over to the Avengers. As the school is opening, they have two inspectors show up. I don't remember their names, so their names don't matter. And they are going to be inspecting the school. And, of course, everything is going wrong. And a lot of this is going wrong because the Hellfire Brats are sabotaging everything. Mm-hmm. And you'll see Jason Aaron does this a lot, where he plays a lot with the X-Men past and kind of puts humorous twists on it. So, like the two inspectors, you'll find out that they have been injected with like the DNA of a Wendigo and a Sauron, and that once they get agitated, they will turn into a Wendigo and a Sauron. You'll see these types of plots pop up quite a bit, where Jason Aaron's just having fun with the concept of X-Men, poking fun at it. Anything else you want to comment on the?
Before getting into, I guess, the meat of, like, because this is where it gets confusing, because you've got the Regenesis one shot, but the first story arc of Wolverine and the X-Men is also called Regenesis.
Yeah.
So before getting into them, and the way that I have it in my head, because after I think it's the first 4 or 5 issues that are Regenesis, right?
First 4 issues, and it goes to the Brood storyline.
Gotcha. I don't know. You know what's weird? I never saw it as kind of like a Brood storyline. I saw it kind of like a countdown to Avengers versus X-Men.
A little bit, but I mean, that's how it's. So let's see. You have a 3-part. I think it's 3-part story where them dealing with the first day of school. Then you have issue 4 that deals with Evan coming to the school. Then it's the 3-part Brood storyline. I think that has the casino stuff in it. And then the 4th issue of that is Beast versus Sabretooth.
I have no idea how you market the trade for this book.
They're in because that's how I read them, through the trades. They're in 4-issue chunks.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Well, so as far as Regenesis,
let's jump back real quick. I apologize. I've been so distracted by my phone blowing up. I'm just like, let's talk about the rest of the characters real quick. We also have Brew, who I believe is from a Warren Ellis story. They found a brood child that is a mutant, and that he doesn't follow the savage nature of the brood. He's the opposite. He doesn't have that killer instinct. He's actually very intelligent. Probably my favorite character in the whole books is Brew.
Okay. So for me, this is interesting for me. I don't have a whole lot of experience with the Brood. With the Brood. As
you don't
far
have experience with the Sleazoids?
My experience with them is Annihilus killing all of them.
You need to go back and read the first Brood saga story is insane. I mean, the X-Men just it's the X-Men and Carol Danvers. They just get their butts kicked by the Brood.
Oh, also the Japanese intro to the 90s show where the Brood show up even though they're never in the show.
I mean, this would be the equivalent of this would be like a school for Space Marines, and they let a xenomorph come to the school. Like, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Okay.
Why is he here? And you see why everybody's like how they treat him. All the other students are like, yeah, he's going to kill us all one night in our sleep. You know, they're terrified of Brew, and he's the sweetest little character.
Well, isn't that the way that Evan is like?
Yeah, Evan's the same way.
That's kind of weird to have like two horrifying creatures of like Lovecraftian proportions at your school.
Well,
Also,
you've got Kid Omega and you've got Kid Gladiator. You know, it's like having Superboy Prime at your school.
That's true.
You know, it's this is a powder keg that Wolverine is building here. And it could all go very, very wrong.
Once again, he is Xavier's worst student, yet he's trying his best.
Not to mention, we have little Bamps running around everywhere that are destroying the school and drinking alcohol and, you know, just really bad influence on everything. They will eventually explain the Bamfs. I don't think it's in this book, though. I think it's Amazing X-Men. There's a story about Nightcrawler and Azazel or Azrael, whatever his name is. That is about them.
And they're probably going to retcon that.
Yeah, they are about to retcon the whole Nightcrawler parentage thing. That's a different.
And I am so down for it too.
Oh, this is there will be two retcons that I'll be happy with. One will never happen. If they retcon it that Jean Grey made Iceman gay, I'm down for that. Because she clearly did when you read the story.
Yeah. She kind of gaslit him into being gay. It's really funny.
Which is weird if you read the early parts of the even Bendis's run. Bobby's hitting on girls and stuff, and the future version of Bobby that shows up during Battle of the Atom is hitting on girls and stuff. So even the older version, it's weird. It's Marvel editorial, and so let's talk a little bit about Bobby here real quick. In the storylines, I know we're jumping all over the place. Wolverine tells Bobby it's time for him to step up. And so during the chaos of the first day, we see him make several clones, whatever you want to call them, snowmen versions of himself. They're all fighting and running around. And during
several Frosties.
During this, he just impulsively kisses Kitty Pryde. Just out of nowhere. And we'll see later that they don't want to talk about, but then they do eventually start dating. And I love their relationship. It's one of my favorite X couples. And then Bendis just blows it up. And I'm just like, come on.
Do you Okay, so as far as Kitty, do you prefer her with Iceman or Colossus?
Years ago I would have said Colossus. Now that I'm older, I think that Colossus is that lost teenage love, that crush that you had, the one that got away.
Okay.
So yeah, and it was always kind of a weird relationship because she was so young and he was older, and it was kind of like, yeah, we're getting some weird territory here.
You know what? I think that's another. This one is a less intentional. A less intentional parallel with Teen Titans, because with Kitty, it's Bobby or Peter, right?
Mm-hmm. And we will see that come up here very soon in A versus X when Peter makes an appearance.
Yes, I love AVX, but with Teen Titans, it's Corey or Barbara for Dick.
Yeah,
and I might have said this before. I'll go ahead and say it again. I very much am Team Starfire. I'm not a fan of Dick and Barbara together.
But are you a fan of Bruce and Barbara together?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Not at all.
No.
Is anybody?
No. I can think of one person.
Oh.
I can think of one person. Bruce Tim.
Yeah.
No. I've always seen Barbara like, she's still in the wheelchair. She's still Oracle. I see her dating like just a cop on the force.
Yeah.
Like
I could see that. All right, we are all over the place today. Other main character we'll talk about, Kid Gladiator, the son of Gladiator, who was the leader of the Imperial Guard, and he is extremely strong. I believe his powers are exactly the same as Gladiator's, where as long as he is confident enough, he is strong enough. So if you make him doubt his self-confidence, you can defeat him.
Yeah, I love that. That's a lot of fun.
So he is like incredibly strong, but he's also like this punk teenager. And he just wants to punch stuff constantly. And he's just, I really like this character. Again, a little bit of a spoiler, he doesn't stick around as long as I would like for him to stick around. He doesn't die or anything, but he does leave for a little bit and come back. But he's a character I wish they would do more with, because I just think he's a lot of fun.
There's another character that I noticed that I think is really hilarious, because he has nothing to do in this book. But it's one of those things where hindsight changes the way you look at something. So like, spoilers for Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad. You watch Better Call Saul and you see that someone was buried under the concrete of their laboratory. And so you watch Breaking Bad again and you're like, there is a murdered human body under their feet the entire time. And so with this one, you just casually see gold balls in the background. And I'm like, you have the key to eternal life.
Wait, is Gold Balls around? But no, Gold Balls isn't around yet.
Is he not?
No, because Bendis creates him.
I thought he was in the background. I thought I saw him.
Can't be Gold Balls. Old Gold Balls hasn't appeared yet.
I thought that he came from, like, I might completely be misremembering them.
Because Bendis brings in Cyclops' new X-Men when he takes over that book. And it's like Hijack and the girl with the temporal powers and Gold Balls. And I don't remember the other two.
I don't know. Maybe it's like, maybe it's like.
Are you feeling okay, Caleb? You're just seeing gold balls everywhere you look.
Maybe it's Mandela effect. Like I thought I saw, and even if I did, it was in one, and I know I didn't, obviously, because he wasn't created yet.
Yeah, he wasn't there yet.
But I was just like, oh, he's in one panel, so like maybe it's just Mandela effect.
Yeah, sometimes of Chris, I love Chris Pacello, but sometimes I have trouble with his art, knowing what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
So I could see something like that happening.
It didn't register to me that because for some reason I thought that he came in with like Second Coming.
So let's finish talking about the first day. The inspectors are there. All heck breaks loose. There's earthquakes. They realize that this is a Krakoa that has somehow moved under the mansion that's causing all the chaos. And we discover that the Hellfire Brats have planted it there, and they are controlling the Krakoa. As the school is falling apart, we see that Kid Omega has been locked away in detention, so he cannot interfere with the inspectors. So he's just having fun watching the school get destroyed. He's just sitting there like, yep, this is what I thought would happen.
Help me out with this, because this is one that I don't think they ever explain really well. Is Krakoa a person or is it a race?
I'm not sure. I know it's a mutant, so I assume it's a person. So there's the original Krakoa, and I think you'll find out that this is like the grandson of the original Krakoa. This is not the same Krakoa. This is a different Krakoa.
So there's Jim, and then this is Jim the Third.
Sure. Okay. And if I recall, we'll see a story later on where there are multiple Krakoas. Like there's more that the Hellfire Club has created, or the Hellfire Brats have created.
Are they kind of the main bad guys of the?
Yeah, they're kind of reoccurring. I mean, we're gonna get the AVX, so that's gonna be like the next two trades. And it's done pretty well. It's all from the school's perspective.
So I'm really interested in, because I personally love AVX. It's my favorite crossover storyline that's not cosmic, but I don't remember ever getting any viewpoint from the student side. So I'm definitely interested to see how students feel about AVX.
Yeah. I'm not the biggest fan of AVX, but also it's been a long time since I've read it, so I'm curious to revisit it.
I think you're gonna like it more than you remember. It's really good.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes these storylines just feel like a Marvel editor just dumping out all their X-Men Adventure toys and just smashing them together, and there's just a lot of shots of people fighting each other. That's what I seem to remember, but maybe I'm remembering it more from Wolverine and X-Men's perspective, where they'll cut away to a scene of just people fighting,
Yeah, like, so, and we'll get to this next week, but like, if you view it from Cyclops' perspective, AVX is so interesting because of what he does.
But there's also part of me that's sick of the Phoenix, so there is also that.
Okay. I can get behind that, and I do think that AVX, I'm fine with it, but I also think that you can do AVX without the Phoenix 5.
Sure. So back to the first day. So they're dealing with Krakoa. The two inspectors have turned into Sauron and Wendigo, and then the Hellfire Brats start firing miniature Frankensteins with flamethrowers into the air that expanded.
Here's one thing that I will say. Are you familiar with the Cyclops side of Schism at all? Like,
I didn't really read it that much. I did read some of the Bendis stuff once he took over.
So immediately after Schism, the Cyclops stuff, it is very serious, very it is very much like, this is the next evolution of where X-Men is going.
Because they're still the 198 at this point, right? They're still on the verge of extinction. Yeah.
This one is just so cartoony and fun. It's such a weird dichotomy.
Right, and I think that's good though, because you don't want two X-Men books to be the same tone, same everything. I think it's fun.
I am not complaining. I am not complaining.
This is completely different, and it's almost like you're reading like Mystery Men or The Tick or something. Just wacky stuff is happening, and I like it a lot.
And it's really funny that it's Wolverine's book that is the more silly book.
Yeah. And it's fun that it's Wolverine's very much a fish out of water. He's like, what am I doing? We're out of money. I'm not supposed to be teaching. What is going on?
Do you know what this reminds me of, really?
What is that?
Do you remember Daddy Daycare?
Yeah. Daddy
Wolverine, played by Eddie Murphy.
Yeah. So
was it Eddie Murphy or Cuba Gooding Jr.?
It was Eddie Murphy.
Okay.
So at the end of this, what happens is Kid Omega makes contact with Krakoa and realizes that Krakoa is being controlled and he doesn't want to be doing all this, so he sets him free. And they realize that the Hellfire Brats are behind it, and they run them off. What's fun is that Wolverine and Rachel Gray they're not sure what happened. There's like, well, Krakoa just stopped and now it wants to be friends. Do you don't think Kid Omega had anything to do with it? They're like, nah, I couldn't be Kid Omega, and he's just sitting over there sunbathing, Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So that's our, I think that's the first 3-parter, your introduction to the team.
Let me ask this, because I get a really strong feeling, because you're saying that Quentin kind of starts to come around, right?
Yeah, you'll start seeing him become more of a.
Does he have a friendship with New Krakoa that kind of helps with that?
Krakoa is more of a background character.
Okay.
Like you never really get like a solo Krakoa story that I recall. There has been a while since I've read these. So yeah, it's more about him taking responsibility for things is what you'll see with and we'll see that here in the next story with the casino story. So let's jump to issue 4. We see that they have 2 new students, Angel and Evan, are coming to the school. This is probably my favorite issue of the 8 that we read. Deathlock has been brought in to teach the future class, and he has the ability to predict. His computer system is able to see with certain percentages what your future fate will be.
I thought that I didn't know if they'd bring in Deathlock. I thought that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, because we just saw him over in X-Force, and we're kind of seeing this is the issue that is the fallout from X-Force. This is the other part of the story we saw when they realized that Evan had survived, and what do we do with Evan? So this is the other side of that story where they're bringing him over to the school, and they're bringing in Beast and Kitty in on what's going on with X-Force. Evan, I love Evan. He's so confused because he's like, why y'all keep looking at me like this? And Kid Gladiator's just saying horrible stuff to him, like, on my planet we would beat the crap out of you and all this stuff. And, he's just saying all this crazy stuff to him, and then the whole class is just staring at him like, isn't that Apocalypse in there? Like, what are we doing? And then I love how Kid Omega is always saying crazy stuff to Brew also, and Brew just totally misunderstands it. It was like, oh, you say the nicest things. He's like, is this one of those human customs? And it's just a lot of fun. I just love the dynamic between the characters in these stories. But we see Deathlock going around the room and telling people like, oh, Kid Gladiator, there's a chance that you will lead the Avengers or destroy the Avengers. And, he's saying all these crazy predictions. And he tells, what was it, Kid Omega, is like, there's a chance you'll either be expelled or you will burn down the school in your first year. And he's like, cool.
Wait, I love how there's the or. You're either going to be expelled or you'll burn down the school. Whichever happens first.
Yeah. And then he looks at Evan and then he's like, class is dismissed. And he doesn't say what Evan's future is. And Evan's just, he's so confused. Everybody's looking at him like, you're evil, you're this, you're that. And then the guy that can see your future won't even tell you your future. So then we do see what the future is. And I love it when you see teams of young characters and then you see a glimpse into the future. And we will probably never ever get to see this team of X-Men, which is sad, but it is Kid Gladiator's all grown up. You see that Kid Omega's their leader. You got Idy, and Brew is now a full-grown Brood. He looks awesome, and they're like you see they're fighting Genesis, and that Krakoa has just died, and they don't know what to do, and they're going to try to stop him no matter what. And again, we saw a little bit of this in X-Force, where there's all these possible futures of Evan. You know, is he the hero? Is he the villain? What is he going to be? And I just love that stuff. Anytime we get like a Days of Future Past moment, a future glimpse of a possible future, that's my jam.
Are you ready for them to ruin it next year, though, right? Because they're doing more Days of Future Past next year.
You know, I it's like Age of Apocalypse. I have to pick which Age of Apocalypse stories count, which ones I ignore. You know, so like there's some Days of Future Past stories I was writing like, this was crap. I'm not.
You know what? It's Age of Apocalypse that they're doing next year, not Days of Future Past. That's my bad. I don't know what's going on. I think my
you know what? I forgot to tell you. I finished reading that Age of Apocalypse book that spun out of Uncanny X-Force. I read all that.
Okay,
and it's okay. I didn't hate it, but very much by the last story is a crossover with another X-Men book that I wasn't reading, with Dazzler, of all these alternate versions of the X-Men, and a lot of people died that I didn't care about. But AOA Nightcrawler does sacrifice himself to save everybody at the end. And they did cure Wolverine of being Apocalypse over there, but now Jean Grey is the Apocalypse over there.
I don't know,
but she's fighting it. But also, they kind of ended the AOA universe. It kind of ended like they were going to destroy everything. So I don't see how you return to that without ignoring everything that just happened. But it was a weird book. It was mostly focused like on Stryker and Graydon Creed and stuff. So, like Sabretooth and Jean Grey were in it, but they weren't like the main characters. It was a strange book. Anyhow, back to this. So Evan's trying to fit in, and he just had a weird first day. But we also have Angel, and Angel cracks me up in this book because he's like a hippie Jesus type character that's just I'm an angel and I'm going to heal your dead dog and all this stuff. But yet he's really doing the stuff he's saying he's going to do. And it's Wolverine's just like, I don't know what to do. He's a student now. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, this is directly after Dark Angel Saga, right?
Right. Yeah, this is like, the next day, basically.
You know what? He actually kind of gave me Vision vibes from Age of Ultron. Well, I was born yesterday.
Yeah. He's totally clueless, and all the students are like, why is Angel in our class? He's one of the founding X-Men. What's happening? So it's
kind of like the kid that got held back for a couple years.
Yeah. It's like, oh, he had a car accident. He's got brain damage now. Don't worry about him.
No. Warren's Billy Madison.
Yeah, he's the Billy Madison of the class. So what's fun in the next issue is you have the boardroom with the Worthington Industries, and they're like, you're no longer in charge. We're kicking you out. We're freezing your funds. And Angel's like, I have money. He has no idea what's going on. And so outside, you're seeing this conversation between Wolverine and Bobby. I don't know if you're paying attention to the background, because the background images are hilarious.
I tried, but apparently I saw gold balls in the background, so I don't know what I believe now.
So Bobby's like freaking out, like, I don't know what you did to him, but whatever. Well, here's the money situation. Wolverine's like, I'm gonna get your money. Meanwhile, in the background, you see Angel take it off. You see Angel's clothes falling to the floor, and everybody taking pictures because he just stripped naked in front of everybody. But it doesn't show. You just see also his clothes falling. Everybody taking pictures. It's really funny. So Wolverine has an idea to go to a casino called I think it's Play at Sin. He's taking Kid Omega with him, and they're gonna basically cheat at cards and steal all the money. It's a weird, ridiculous plan. Meanwhile, Kitty Pryde's pregnant.
Yeah,
just out of nowhere. It's not like she was just hooking up with Colossus or Bobby or anything. She's just also pregnant. She's like, what is happening?
It's the mutant messiah.
Yeah. So what we find out with Kitty is that she has been infested with brood. Microscopic brood have taken over her body, and they are going to devour her.
Do you know what's one thing that I didn't like about this episode? I'm not the what I didn't like about this storyline is it reminded me of a Star Trek episode that I really hate.
I think this is a lot of fun because it's just with the brood. There's only so many stories you could tell where you're just kind of repeating, like, okay, the brood took over a town, and oh no, an X-Men got infected, and all this. Now here's something different. Kitty is pregnant with the brood. What? It's at least they're doing something different with the brood.
I'm talking more about it. Wasn't there like an episode where Deanna Troi gets pregnant with something?
Oh yeah, like the space baby thing. Yeah, that's a horrible episode.
Yeah, I'm not saying that this was a bad storyline. I'm just saying it reminded me of a bad episode. Like, we've established I don't like Star Trek, but I mean that episode I think we can all agree is bad.
Yeah, there are some definite clunker episodes of Next Generation, and that is one of them. So what I had skipped over earlier was we had an amazing journey moment where, or what is that movie called? I can't remember what it's called. Anyhow, they shrunk down and they were exploring the anatomy of Toad.
Yes.
Toad reminds me of the stapler guy in Office Space, where I don't have a bed yet. When am I getting a bed, Logan? Hello.
You know what this really? So here's the thing. I never said it out loud, but they take a field trip, shrinking down and seeing the anatomy of Toad. This is Magic School Bus.
Yes, I was thinking that. This is Magic School Bus. They're fighting brood. Yes. Yeah, it does have that feeling sometimes that this is Magic School Bus. So what's funny is some blood cells or something. I can't remember what it is right now, but they beat up Kid Gladiator. And he gets upset. He's like, that didn't happen. And he has like a bodyguard that's always with him. I think her name's Warbird.
Yes.
And she's like, yeah, sure, whatever. He's like, no, I can beat him up. So he shrinks himself back down. And he flies into Kitty and starts beating up Brood, which I think is hilarious. He's just... She's like, watching me.
Don't think about it too much.
Yeah. Then they're like, Misa's going, okay, yeah, we're all gonna shrink down. We're all gonna go fight the brood. And it's, you have Kitty sitting here, and if you've never been through this, you're single, but my wife's had 2 kids. Pregnancy is a crazy thing. The female body's doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So picture this, but now there's people fighting inside of your stomach. It's...
Yes, you heard that right, ladies. I am single.
Ladies.
Hey. You have brood in... I'm not even going to say what I was about to say.
Anyhow, so while this is going on, you have Wolverine and Kid Omega. They're stealing a ridiculous amount of money through their card winnings, but the casino's onto them. So one of the coolest things is Kid Omega realizes he can make psychic shotguns and started shooting everybody. It's a really cool power up for him. I mean,
that's my favorite thing about Kid Omega is like, I'll believe whatever you tell me about Kid Omega.
He's just a fun character that I don't want to give things away, but you know that one day he's going to be the leader of the X-Men. You just know it one day. And we saw that future vision with him and Heidi.
Well, and it's so interesting because like he is a major player if you're an X-Men fan at this point, but he is not a major player anymore, and he is not a character that people know either.
Here's what's I always find interesting about the X-Men is they have the Dragon Ball Z effect where you will see the villains eventually start coming around to Xavier's side, and eventually they will join the X-Men. And now sometimes it doesn't work. Like Sabretooth has had moments where he's been an X-Man and then he turns on them, or Mystique. So in this book, you see, here's a Brood following the Xavier stream. Here's Apocalypse following Xavier stream. Mm-hmm. Which is why I found one of the parts of House of X I found annoying was all these villains just showed up and like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. And it was like, no, you're doing this wrong. You don't just have everybody show up and suddenly everybody's kumbaya, you know.
Well, I was on board with it when Hickman was doing it because obviously it was Xavier that was wrong.
Yeah. Well, and I don't want to get sidetracked with House of X, but yeah, one of the cool things about X-Men is, like I said, it's the Dragon Ball Z effect, where eventually the villains will come around. You know, the Vegeta will come around a little bit, you know, or Piccolo or whatever.
I mean, that would just be an interesting like team of X-Men where like let's say you get Polaris, who's the daughter of Magneto. You have what's that?
Heresy. She's not the daughter of Magneto. I will fight people on it. That's another retcon I will fight people on.
Regardless, you get Evan on the team. Is there ever like a Bastion, but like a good guy version of Bastion?
So what was her name? Like Omega Sentinel? She was on X-Men for a little bit.
Yeah.
It was like her and Sabretooth and Cable and Cannonball and Rogue. It was a weird team.
Well, just like imagine like you got an X-Men team full of next generation villains who are actually heroes.
And I think that's what the Hellions book was trying to be. Not Hellions. They had the teams mixed up. It's the one that Havoc was just on with Danny and
was that Marauders?
It may have been Marauders. They had those two books named backwards for whatever reason. But it's Havoc and Nanny and Orphan Maker and
Orphan Maker's such a hardcore name.
Madeline Pryor. Yeah, it's a weird character. And Scalp Hunter, which they had to change his name because, you know, whatever. Anyhow. Back to this though. We see Wolverine trying to escape, and they blast him with a ray that basically rearranges the molecules in the adamantium. So now Wolverine's crippled in a wheelchair like Charles Xavier, which is, you know, kind of fun.
I feel like that was kind of on the nose.
It was, but it's still, at least it wasn't like that for like the next 20 issues. They fixed it pretty quickly. Because I could, you know, back in the 90s, like Wolverine had bone claws. He's gonna have bone claws for 5 years. It's gonna be Wolverine in a wheelchair for 5 years.
It's like I kind of wish that Kid Omega, because here's the thing. I feel like, you know how Wolverine is Xavier's worst student, that is like his true successor.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with Kid Omega, right? Kid Omega is kind of the Wolverine of this team.
Yep.
I kind of wish they were like, well, we can't call you. Kid Omega be like, well, we can't call you Wolverine anymore. It doesn't make any sense. How about we call you Wheels? like in
I got it.
What do they call you? Wheels?
So the Brood storyline, we find out that there is a, what's his name, Starblood or something. He's a mutant, not mutant, an alien scientist who is trying to preserve the natural order of things, and he thinks that a brood that is good will destroy everything. Mm-hmm. So he is here to destroy Brew, and Brew's a big fan of his, which makes it all kind of fun. But he pushes Brew to a point where Brew snaps, and the brood in him comes out, and he really tears the mess out of Starblood. So we'll see where, I'm not going to say anything else. We'll see where this storyline of Brew goes. It goes some interesting places. But Brew is like in shock that you see him in the corner, like just kind of curled up in a ball, doesn't know what to do now. We've also been seeing Beast's girlfriend from Sword popping up. What's her name? Abigail Brand or something?
Yes.
So she's going to play a big part in the next issue. Basically, the Hellfire Brats are like, they brought in Sabretooth for like, how can we screw up the school? He's like, you go for the heart, you go for Beast. You take out Beast, you can take out everything.
Do you agree with that? Like that Beast is the heart of X-Men?
At this point, I don't know about heart. Maybe the conscious of the X-Men, or at least he claimed he was at this point, because he's the one that brings back the original 5 X-Men. Because he's like, oh, Cyclops is way off track. We got to fix things.
Yeah, but that was dumb on his part, though.
Oh, I agree. He's completely wrong. He's totally wrong. I would feel like if you're asking me who the heart of the X-Men is, it might be more like Nightcrawler, or maybe Storm.
Yeah, it always, because,
of course, Nightcrawler's dead at this point, but yeah.
I've never thought about like the heart of I've never thought about the heart of the X-Men in particular, because I always think about the heart of the universe, not the heart of the team. Because like the heart of the Marvel universe is Spider-Man. Everything that is big kind of revolves around him. When you go to DC, it's kind of the Flash is the heart of DC, where like everything that's big, it always involves him. And I'm just like, you call Beast the heart of the team, and I'm like, I don't think he ever does anything.
Or like the backbone of the team. He's the that connective tissue or whatever. But anyhow, so Sabretooth sets a trap where he kills a bunch of Sword agents, and then we get a crazy Sabretooth versus Beast fight, which I really like. Anytime Sabretooth fights someone other than Wolverine, I generally like it. He's had a couple of really great fights with Psylocke over the years. So
I think Sabretooth is one of those Sabretooth is one of those villains that I actually think works really well going up against a team like this, because like he doesn't care. And I know, of course, this hasn't happened yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if this happens. He doesn't care that they are kids. He will kill them. And so it's more like Sabretooth is kind of like the perfect first villain for a team of kids superheroes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I believe we will see him again.
Good. Because it's right there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. The books I've been having you read, a lot of those subplots will start popping back up in these, like Astonishing Spider-Man, Wolverine, or whatever that book's called. We'll see some of that pop up in here eventually. So anyhow, Beast defeats Sabretooth, but he gets hurt pretty bad in the fight, and he sends Sabretooth like falling through the orbit. So they said they're going to retrieve him, but I don't know if he like burn up in the atmosphere first or what. And then the Angel decides that he's going to raid the casino and get the device they need to fix Wolverine's legs, and the students go with him. So they all skip class and we'll go back to the casino and have a big fight. We get this really cool scene where Angel and Evan team up, and both of them are clueless who they are. And, it's like, oh, this is Apocalypse who corrupted Angel named Archangel. And here they are being friends. And you see the hope that maybe this is a turning point for both of them, which is really fun. Am I missing any other major plot points? Krakoa starts growing diamonds for him.
Yeah, I was about to mention that, because like the whole point is just the fact that the school is going through money problems, and then it turns out that almost feels like a
little too easy of an answer.
Not necessarily too easy. I mean, yes, it's too easy, but I mean, like, it genuinely feels like I don't know, like the ending to like your 80s comedy movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, oh man, we didn't get the money from the casino, and the Krakoa is like, wait, but I'm growing diamonds.
The ending of UHF, where he didn't raise enough money, then the old homeless guy gives him the money. Yeah. I get you. So I didn't. I could see it as too easy, but like, you can only have so many storylines with money problems. Yeah. So what do you think of this? Was it what you expected, or you kind of like, okay,
it is not at all what I expected.
This is very different.
Yeah, no. I definitely did not expect this to be a cartoon. It's a lot of fun. It was very much it was a shock. Let me preface, I really enjoyed this. It was a shock because you just had me read X-Force, which is a lot darker.
Yes.
B, we preface this with Schism, which is a lot darker. C, when I originally read Schism, I went to the Cyclops side rather than the Wolverine side, and it was a lot darker.
Yeah.
So all of that put together, this was like a shock to my system, and in a good way. Very, very interesting. I think it'll be interesting to read Avengers versus X-Men, because like I said, I've always read it from the perspective of Cyclops. I don't think I've ever read it from the perspective of Wolverine. So it'll be very interesting because, and I'll mention this next week, the interesting thing, not next week, but next month, whenever we go over AVX and more of Wolverine and the X-Men, the interesting thing about Cyclops' story in AVX is there's a point where you realize that mom and dad aren't superheroes and they're just as clueless as the rest of us. And so Cyclops goes through that, and that's why I find him interesting in AVX. I don't know what Wolverine really goes through in AVX, especially with all this behind him too, because he's also an Avenger.
Yeah. So we are going to be reading through up to issue 18, I believe, of Wolverine and the X-Men, and we'll be reading AVX next month. And then we'll probably, I don't know how many issues Wolverine and the X-Men goes through, but we'll probably wrap it up in beginning of November.
Does this ever cross into Battle of the Atom?
It does, and I almost feel like we can skip those. We'll debate it. I'll kind of flip through and see, because I don't feel like much happens with the students in that. We'll
I don't
debate.
like Battle of the Atom.
Yeah, I mean, there's some ideas about of the Atom I like, but I also feel like we can kind of maybe skip those. But that's like 3 issues of this book that we will skip.
Okay.
When we get there, so I don't know. Well, I'll look at it before the next time we talk about this. But yeah, I really love these characters. One of the annoying things about these characters is they don't have a team name, so it's like impossible to find good pictures of them, because it's not like, oh, the New Mutants or Generation X. It's just like, oh, the X-Men students. Oh no, I don't mean the new X-Men students. Oh, I don't mean this. I don't mean that.
Well, and then whenever you look up Wolverine and the X-Men, you've got the cartoon.
The cartoon, exactly. Or try and find a picture of Student Angel. I could not find a picture.
Because like, if I'm being honest, that's why there aren't as many pictures in this stream today. Is just because like it was too difficult. I couldn't.
There's like only like 2 great shots of the team that I've been able to find, and they're really hard to find of this team. So that's my one complaint. There's no like great action shots of, oh, here's Kid Omega and Brew and everybody. But yeah, I really like this book. It's a 42 issue run, so we'll kind of read the middle part next, and then we'll wrap it up. And then I think there's another writer that comes in after Jason Aaron that does like a 12 issue run. I did not read those issues because then it goes into the death of Wolverine, and then that just killed the book. That's it. The end.
The death of Wolverine killed Wolverine and the X-Men? What?
Yeah, I know. And so, Kid Omega still plays a big role in the books. Bruce shows up some in Avengers. Evan is lost to the winds. I don't know if Ivy's doing anything, and I'm not sure. I'm sure Kid Gladiator's popped up here and there, but he has not really done much either. And then Krakoa's been forgotten, of course. There will be some more students we will get as we read on. But yeah, I really like this.
And Gold Balls, who may or may not be in this book.
I'll say this: Gold Balls, one of his teammates is a time traveler, so maybe you did see Gold Balls. Maybe he traveled back in time.
Maybe. But yeah, I hear Gold Balls is doing some pretty good things now.
Yeah. So we're gonna finish this up in November. Then we'll see what we're gonna read after that. We might eventually get around to Astro City.
Yeah, I have it on my. And here's the thing: like at this point, like I only ever read the first, and I liked what I read of it. I've intentionally not read because I want to, make sure that we.
Yeah, I need to get myself a copy. And then
so myself, what I'm thinking about doing, because I know that how long does your Marvel Unlimited last?
It ends in December. I was gonna not renew it. Now I'm thinking I might as well renew it because we've been reading a lot more on the show. We'll see.
Well, what I was gonna do is, if you weren't gonna renew it, I thought we could flip the script a little bit. I would get a DC Universe or DC Infinite, and then I'd make you start reading some Batman that you're not familiar with.
Yeah, I have a list of things I want to read real quick before my Marvel Unlimited runs out. 2099 stuff I want to read, and X Factor Investigations. And I would like to read Ecstatics again.
If I could, I definitely would like to read some X Factor, because like I said, like I've never really understood. I have read Uncanny X-Men. That is what I've read.
Have you read House of M?
I've read House of M, yeah.
So they set up Layla Miller.
Yep.
Her story continues in X Factor Investigations.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like we've talked about House of M. Did we do a show on House of M or
no? I don't think we did.
I'm trying to think. Oh, you know what? So a couple of years ago, I tried to start a podcast with one of my friends, who he's kind of flaky. He knows he is, so we were gonna start off with House of M, and then that just never happened. So I'm probably thinking about that.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of House of M.
I'm not either.
It's Bendis does these crossovers I just don't care about.
Well, so for me, House of M and Flashpoint are very similar, but I just like Flashpoint better.
Yeah. So do you know what we're doing next week? Because I've lost the list. I don't remember what next week's episode is.
Oh, I think it's supposed to be. Is it supposed to be video game or TV show? We'll
figure it out. Let's see. Is there anything going on this week?
No. We did video game last week, so I think it's supposed to be it. Yeah, it's supposed to be TV next week.
Let's try, and I will see if I can get a hold of a Netflix subscription somehow, and let's try to watch One Piece live action before next week.
How many episodes is it?
8.
8. How long are the episodes?
I have no idea.
Let me before because if they're all like an hour long, that might be a lot.
Yeah.
So let me check that real quick. I have mine pulled up right now. Yeah, they're all about an hour long. Oh wow, they're all really long episodes.
Okay,
so we could try.
We'll make a judgment call. We might watch either a couple of those. Yeah, we might do something like that. So,
I mean that's the rule of anime, right? Give it 3 episodes.
Yeah, I think that'll get us through Buggy and Zoro and Shanks stuff. So yeah, fun times. I'm really excited because I've heard really good things about it. I don't know if you know this. One of the cool things you can do is you can put on the Japanese soundtrack where it has the Japanese voice actors come in and redub all the lines.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. So they actually sound like the characters and stuff, which is pretty cool. So anywho, if you've never checked out Wolverine the X-Men, I highly recommend it. If you want something a little bit more lighthearted, because I know right now we're doing Fall of X in the main titles, and it's grim. You know, everybody's dead, and
Xavier is left alone on Krakoa.
Yeah, he's killed everybody. He sent them to their deaths, and although somehow Wolverine and Emma survived. Oh, that's something I wanted to mention. It was surprising that Emma did not end up at Wolverine school. I mean, I know she's with Cyclops, but she has typically been a teacher and has ran schools in the past. So, which I know they explained it in Regenesis, but it's kind of a weird choice. It was kind of like the writer of X-Men. Was like, no, I'm keeping Emma. I've got plans for her. You can't have her. So anyhow, that's the only one that's kind of weird about why they chose the way they did.
I can think of a couple. I think Colossus is kind of weird too.
Yeah, but wasn't he like had like Juggernaut's powers at that moment, or there's some weird stuff going on with him at that time period?
Yeah.
Anywho, yeah, I highly recommend this era of the X-Men. And it remains pretty strong. It does get a little jumbled once Bendis and the young X-Men show up, but then it kind of, I think it still sticks to the landing. So, but we will get there.
And Cyclops was right.
Yeah, Cyclops was right, but what's fun is he kind of goes down Magneto's path, and I really think they were doing interesting stuff with Cyclops until they killed him off.
Yep.
But that's a whole podcast for another day.
That will probably be next week. Not next week, next month. Yeah.
Dang it. But until then, I've been Final Monkey.
And I'm Caleb.
We'll catch you in the pond. See ya.
See ya.